What's good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Nerd Corner. I'm Little Sooooo, the kid that never knows best, and in today's video I'm back with a stay in the industry video. Those videos where I show you guys all the manga pickups that I have had over the course of the month. Although, funnily enough, in 2018, these are the only manga volumes that I've bought so far this year, which is kind of out of the ordinary for me. You guys know that I built a lot of this channel up off of these manga hauls where I was buying 20, 30, 40, even 50 volumes of manga in a month. But since the collection has grown so significantly, you know, over that time period, and I've spent so much money, my desire as well as the need for the volumes that I want to buy has declined drastically. Not to mention I've been making some pretty big investments into the channel and into the Twitch streams, what with, you know, the new camera, new microphones, microphone stands and all that good stuff, but all well worth it, all worthwhile the investment for sure. But yeah, nonetheless, I do have a very select few volumes of manga that I want to show off to here today. And I know this is kind of out of the ordinary, you know, this is nothing known for how I usually do these haul videos. If you've been around for a minute, you know, usually I got the volumes laid out in the background, I got the camera pointing downward, and I show you guys the volumes, you know, in front of the camera. But I got two reasons why I want to try out this new style here today. Number one being that your boy finally got a Rode VideoMic Pro in the mail that is both authentic and working. This is the third VideoMic Pro that I've had now, because the first one I got was a knockoff. I sent it back. And the second one I got was authentic, but it was broken on arrival. It was brand new in the box, but somehow it was already damaged. And now I'm on to my third one. It's authentic, it's working, and I'm ready to put it to work. So I definitely wanted to test that out. And the second reason why I'm doing the video in this style as opposed to how I usually do it is because I think I can make the video more interesting this way. I think I can make it more dynamic. I think me being in front of the camera is more engaging, more personal, and I just think there's more potential for a video in this style. But if you guys prefer the old one, I can go back to that. If you guys prefer this one, we can get it rocking and rolling with this from now on. But with all that being said, let's get into it. Let's rock. First volume that I picked up that I want to show you guys is actually volume 2 of Dragon Ball Super. Now I know everybody and their mama got an opinion on Dragon Ball, and in particular Dragon Ball Super. And I don't really have a preference when it comes to the anime or the manga, but I will say that personally I enjoy them both. It really doesn't matter to me. Dragon Ball is Dragon Ball. It's a series that I've been following since I was probably like a year old. Like I've said this before, some of the earliest memories I have of even being alive are of watching Dragon Ball on television, and you know, growing up and reading the manga, watching anime, playing the games. I'm a lifetime Dragon Ball fan, so I'm always going to enjoy the series, and admittedly it's not the greatest thing out there, but I enjoy it for what it is. I don't overthink it. I know what its flaws are. I'm not blind to that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it or damage control anything that Dragon Ball does, because it's a far from perfect series, but I like it. Funnily enough, I remember there was an interview a while back where Toyotaro, the guy who's now illustrating the manga as opposed to Kira Toriyama, said that he intended to surpass the anime. I don't know where the manga is right now because I only read these volumes as they come out in English, but I know it's far behind the anime. It's definitely not a close ending, so you know. Nevertheless, I'm still very much enjoying the manga. I'm a big fan of Toyotaro's artwork. I think he's a very talented illustrator, and I'm glad to see, you know, his interpretation of the story as well as the anime's interpretation of the story. Although there are some certain instances throughout the manga and the anime as well where certain decisions are made, and I just question, you know, why things are the way they are. And again, I try not to overthink Dragon Ball, but this is why I don't really have a preference when it comes to the anime or the manga, because certain things Toyotaro will do and I'm kind of like, you know, and certain things that Toei will do and I'm kind of like, you know. So they both have their highs, they both have their lows, they both have their pros and cons. I enjoy them both pretty much equally, no real preference. But yeah, volume 2, Dragon Ball Super, I enjoy it. I know not everyone does. It is what it is. Up next we have Boruto Naruto Next Generations Volume 2. Again, a series that I'm personally enjoying, but a lot of people don't seem to be. It's one of those polarizing series where you have a lot of the Naruto fandom that very much enjoys it, and you have a bunch of people who either never were part of the Naruto fandom or they spit on this because they think it's a cash grab, that think this is trash. And I will say that I do actually have a preference when it comes to this one in terms of the manga or the anime. I do actually prefer the anime, at least so far, and for multiple reasons, but I do still enjoy the manga. For me, the biggest downfall of the manga is the artwork, because it's no longer being drawn by Masashi Kishimoto. He's still kind of like supervising and overseeing the series, but it's now being handled by Mikio Ikemoto, who used to be an assistant for Kishimoto back on the original Naruto series. But the problem is, his artwork leaves a lot to be desired. And this is a conversation that I've had with multiple people, multiple homies of mine, including the homie Toasty, where we often look at Boruto and it's like, you know, I'm very much enjoying the content, but it's definitely held back by the subpar artwork. Like, I wouldn't even call the artwork mediocre, it's definitely subpar. Like, in terms of professional mangaka, it's pretty underwhelming. But I can only hope that with time Ikemoto will improve, because there are plenty of mangaka out there who improved their artwork over time. They became better and stronger illustrators, became more confident, in the panels that they were drawing. And that the same even goes for Masashi Kishimoto. While I will say Naruto started off with a style that I did like, it definitely got stronger. Kishimoto definitely hit a stride around like volume 4 or 5, and by the time you get to like volume 7 or 8 out of the 72 volume series that is Naruto, Kishimoto definitely had found like his groove, I would say, and he had a pretty solid style of art that looked really great throughout the entirety of Naruto, at least in my opinion, right? Because Kishimoto's one of my favorite artists, and Naruto's one of my favorite series. But that's just me. One thing I will say though is that I think a lot of people are definitely giving Boruto more flack than it deserves, especially those who call it a blatant cash grab and don't even give it a fair chance. Because I think if you actually sit down and read the manga, or at least read it online or however you choose to go about things, you'd find that Boruto's a decently enjoyable series, especially if you were already a fan of Naruto. Like, if you overlook the fact that undeniably it is pretty much a cash grab, but why wouldn't you keep the series going if it's still making money? I mean, look at One Piece, and Bleach went on for as long as it did, even though it's almost unanimously agreed that it was never as good as its like first or second arc ever again. But yeah, especially in terms of the anime, dog, because I know the anime started off a little slow. A lot of people didn't care about the Academy stuff. It all felt like filler. But I will say that if you're not up to date with the anime, if you haven't been watching, in the Boruto series, they've graduated from the Academy, and they've had some pretty dope arcs, some really dope fights, and it's been solidly produced from start to finish. Like, the openings and endings are great, all the soundtracks are great. Naruto, whether you like the series or not, a lot of people will agree that Naruto had great music, and that's continued in Boruto. And then the animation, I know people give Piero flack all the time, but the animation has been really good in Boruto, believe it or not. And if you don't believe me, you're just gonna have to see it for yourself. But yeah, I'm enjoying Boruto, both the anime and the manga. Again, I prefer the anime right now because it's more interesting. We're past the Academy, whereas in the English version of the manga, in these releases, we're still recapping the Boruto movie, which, while I did very much enjoy that movie, the manga doesn't do it as much justice, again, mostly because of Ikemoto's lackluster artwork. But that's just me. That's like my biggest gripe about this series, in case you haven't figured that out. I mean, I think I made it abundantly clear. It is what it is. I really gotta come up with a better catchphrase than "it is what it is." I said that a lot, but I mean, it is what it is. You feel me? Next up, we have Volume 11 of Twin Star Exorcist. And if Dragon Ball's biggest downfall is its plot and inconsistencies and its, shaky storyline, and then Boruto's downfall is its artwork, well, this is a series that has neither one of those flaws, so by that logic, it's pretty much perfect, right? Well, I don't know about perfect, but I like it a lot, you know what I mean? Twin Star Exorcist is one of those series that I feel is criminally underrated. It started up, at least coming out in English, around the same time as My Hero Academia, and I picked both of these first volume ones for My Hero and Twin Star up at the same time. And I enjoyed both, and obviously My Hero has been wildly successful. It's pretty popular. It's one of the biggest series out there right now. Definitely one of the biggest shonen, and one of the stars of Shonen Jump. I feel like Twin Star is the more enjoyable series. I know, don't shoot me. Chill. I love My Hero. I like My Hero a lot. But I've continued to pick up the Twin Star manga, and I haven't continued to pick up the My Hero manga. It's not because I don't enjoy it. I just, prioritize this. I think it's better. I think it's more enjoyable. They're very similar, though, in the sense that neither one of them are super unique or original. They're full of all these shonen tropes and cliches, but the thing is that they both execute them well. And that's something that I kind of want to stress, and maybe even one day make a video on. And again, I gotta stop saying things like that, because I always say I kind of want to do this or that in the video, and I never do it. But the point is, to me, an anime or manga is more about its execution than its originality, because at this point, so many things have already been done. You'd be hard pressed to come up with an idea for a new series that hasn't already been done before, whether it's a manga about fishing or racing or fighting or demons or angels or whatever you could possibly think of. It's been done, or it's being done. So to me, it's not so much about the originality, it's about how well you execute it, how you choose to write it, how you choose to illustrate it, that matters the most to me. And that's obviously very well demonstrated through My Hero, because, Izuku is a character we've seen in the same likeness of someone like Naruto, for example, right? My Hero and Naruto had a lot of comparisons, especially in the beginning. And even to this day, I feel like they're very similar series, but Twin Star is, among that same vein, where it's not the most unique thing. It's a series about these two exorcists, exorcising demons. That's, not unheard of. I mean, Blue Exorcist is a series that probably immediately comes to mind when you even hear the title of the series. But the characters are so lovable. The abilities are awesome. The artwork is gorgeous. I mean, just look at this cover. This cover is sick, and all the covers for Twin Star Exorcist are sick. And it's just very well done, in my opinion. It's very well executed. Again, if you're someone who's jaded to battle shonen, you think everything is generic cliche, you don't want any more of that bullshit, then I feel you. I can't blame you. It is what it is. There I go with that again. But if you're not someone who's become jaded to battle shonen anime and manga and series like that, this is a series I think you'd very much enjoy, and I hope that a lot of people give it a chance, because it's one of my personal favorites. I think Twin Star Exorcist is actually in my top 10 favorite manga, and that's kind of crazy to say, but I very much enjoyed. Although I will say though, if you are interested at all in this series, I would definitely recommend the manga over the anime. The manga, top notch as far as I'm concerned. As far as, you know, these battle shonen series go, this is up there for me. It's among my very favorites. And if you like my taste in anime manga, which is shit by the way, you probably should agree with most of my opinions, then you'd enjoy this series. So if you haven't checked it out before, give it a chance. I've continued to enjoy it more and more with every volume, and volume 11 was no exception. I'm very much looking forward to what this series, or what the future of this series holds. And I'm not sure how much longer the series is going to go on, but I hope it goes on for quite some time because I love it a lot. And last, but certainly not least, we have Volume 4 of Platinum Man, and this is another very polarizing series, much like Dragon Ball and Boruto, although not nearly as mainstream, I guess, as those series for obvious reasons, because Dragon Ball and Naruto is about as mainstream as it gets. But this is a series that was, you know, heavily anticipated by a lot of people in the manga community, myself included, and for good reason, because it's being done by the twin titans, the colossal giants of manga that are Takeshi Obata and Tsugumi Ohba, which if you don't recognize those names, those are the people who did Death Note, Bakuman, and many other series. Takeshi Obata himself especially has worked on so many other series that are in my personal collection. He's one of my favorite illustrators, if not my favorite illustrator. But yeah, so Death Note, obviously, when you're getting a new work from the people who did Death Note, obviously expectations are really high, and for a lot of people this series did not meet them. A lot of people wrote it off as way too convoluted or way too edgy, and I get that. I definitely get that, although I'll say again, personally, I still really enjoy it. I know a lot of people have really strong feelings about this, and I think the two major complaints that I see about this are how complicated it is and how edgy it is. Although there are some people who still stand by the idea that it's not all that original, which again, we had the discussion just a moment ago. I feel it's more about execution than originality. And where I say the lack of originality comes in the series is the fact that it's comparable to Future Diary, where they kind of have a very similar concept, if not the same concept, where essentially you have these people who are all competing to become the next god, which is, you know, pretty much the exact same story of Future Diary. But again, different characters, different way things are handled, different powers and abilities, and I very much am enjoying it. And if nothing else, there's one thing that's unanimously agreed upon by literally everyone, whether they like the series or not, and that is that the artwork is absolutely incredible. If you ask me, this is probably Takeshi Obata's strongest art yet, and it is just phenomenal. Although I will say it's very explicit in nature, both in terms of violence and sexuality, so that's definitely something to be, you know, aware of, which is interesting because this is rated, yeah, it says right here on the back that it's rated M for mature, which, you know, to me is 18+, but the thing about 18+ is that should mean that it's a seinen manga, but this is classified as a shonen. You know, it's obviously part of Shonen Jump, but I don't really understand that because due to its explicit nature, a lot of the content and the themes that are explored, whether it be, you know, the death and depression, suicide, the gods, the angels, like everything that's in this manga would definitely make you think that it should be shrink wrapped and classified as a seinen manga, but somehow it's still shonen. I don't know, I guess maybe monthly series get away with more than a weekly series does. It's not like in Shonen Jump. I believe this is running in Shonen Square, the same magazine as Twin Star, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's the case. This is definitely the most edgy and pretentious manga that I've ever read, but being the edgelord that I am, it speaks to me. I rock with it. I like it a lot. You feel me? But if that's not really your jam, if you don't like series like Dead Man Wonderland, Akame ga Kill, any of these like super bloody, pretentious, you know, high octane types of series, then you probably not really gonna dig this. But if you like me, you gonna rock with it. But with that, that pretty much wraps up this video. Those are the only 4 volumes that I've picked up so far in 2018. Not even just the course of the last month, but just all the manga that I've bought this year. Again, my collection has grown massively. There aren't too many series that I don't have that I want to own, and there's only a select few series that are currently ongoing, such as these, that I'm still buying volumes for. Yeah, that's pretty much everything I picked up so far this year. Like I said, Dragon Ball Super Volume 2, Boruto Volume 2, Twin Star Exorcist Volume 11, and Platinum Man Volume 4. Yeah, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Hit this video with a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, so you can stay tuned for all this content that I'm bringing you. And with all that being said, that's pretty much all of today. And remember, nothing can happen until you swing the bat. Later.